I'm Natasha Kirchuk, and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. Coming up in today's newscast, the Israeli Prime Minister is skyrocketing in the polls after U.S. President Donald Trump's visit, but is he planning to bring left-wing parties into his coalition? The Palestinian Authority is under fire for ongoing incitement, and we'll reveal how a new mode of transportation is about to transform Jerusalem. Stay tuned for the latest news in Israel. It looks like the Israeli Prime Minister's popularity is soaring following U.S. President Donald Trump's visit to Israel. And according to a new poll, the Likud party would easily take the cake if an election were to be held today. Israel's Channel 2 News has just released a poll showing that the Likud party would win at least 30 Knesset seats. That's 8 more than the centrist runner-up party Yesh Atid, which for the past couple of months has been taking the lead in polls. Even more strikingly, 35% of those surveyed in the poll said Prime Minister Netanyahu is most fit to serve as the leader of Israel, with Yesh Atid's Yair Lapid locking in only 14%. And if you're wondering how Netanyahu's opposition party, the Zionist Union, would fare, let's just say not so well. The left-wing party is currently the second largest Knesset party, but it would only win 12 seats. That's less than the joint Arab List party's 13. All right, while polls may claim that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's coalition is more popular than ever, that doesn't mean that broadening it is out of the question. In fact, it looks like the Israeli leader is now looking to widen his coalition by bringing in more politicians from the center-left. Netanyahu reportedly spoke with the Zionist Union opposition leader Isaac Herzog on the phone on the evening of Donald Trump's arrival to Israel. A meeting was allegedly set between the two officials in the aftermath of the American president's visit. Over the course of the last few days, Herzog has said that he would back Netanyahu from outside of the coalition if the prime minister were to actually push for peace with the Palestinians. The Israeli opposition leader came close to joining Netanyahu's coalition last year, but talks collapsed quickly. Herzog has spurned Netanyahu for failing to jumpstart peace talks alongside Jordanian and Egyptian leaders because of pressure from his coalition's right-wing parties. During U.S. President Donald Trump's visit to Israel, however, his key advisors came to a conclusion. The idea that Netanyahu can't make any compromises because of the constraints of his right-wing coalition is false, since the center-left would in fact support him. At this point, bringing the Zionist Union into the coalition would be very difficult, especially since the party is holding leadership elections on July 4th, and Herzog may lose his power. If you watched U.S. President Donald Trump's press conference with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas last week, you might have thought there was some bad blood between them. Maybe it was his slam of PA support for terrorism, or maybe it was the sour look on the U.S. president's face. Well, Israel's Channel 2 News is reporting that we only saw the tip of the iceberg. An unnamed American source is telling the channel that Trump was yelling at Abbas during their private meeting and accusing him of lying to his face. Trump reportedly shouted, "You tricked me," in D.C., claiming that the Israelis had shown him documents detailing the Palestinian leader's involvement in incitement, despite Abbas's pledge to seek peace. According to the sources, the Palestinians at the meeting sat there in shocked silence for minutes after the encounter. Palestinian sources are denying the report, which comes on the heels of a spat between the United Nations, Norway, and the Palestinian Authority, after the PA decided to use European funds to build a memorial center dedicated to the female terrorist Dalal Mughrabi, who is responsible for the death of 38 innocent civilians. The Palestinian Authority is facing even heavier condemnation today for having named a women's center after a notorious terrorist. The issue exploded after the Norwegian branch of the International Christian Embassy of Jerusalem informed Oslo that the new center near Nablus had been named after Dalal Mughrabi. She's the notorious terrorist who led the Coastal Road massacre in 1978 that slaughtered 38 Israelis, 13 of whom were children. More than 70 others were wounded in the Palestinian attack. Norway was furious because it appears the aid money it gave to encourage greater involvement by Arab women in elections was instead used to pay tribute to Mughrabi. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres issued a statement stressing that the glorification of terrorism or the perpetrators of heinous terrorist acts is unacceptable under any circumstances. The world body is not only demanding that the UN logo for women be immediately removed from the building, but it's vowing to take measures to make sure such incidents never again occur in the future. Unfortunately, the PA has a long tradition of naming public venues and events after Mughrabi, as well as scores of other terrorists who are celebrated as Palestinian martyrs by the ruling Fatah party. The United Nations Health Agency is being accused of caving into pressure from Syria to bury a report that praises Israel. According to the UN Watch monitoring group, the World Health Organization never even published a positive document about the Jewish state that had been submitted by its own mission. The report included a glowing assessment of Israeli cooperation with the organization's researchers working in the Golan Heights. Then, adding insult to injury, the Geneva-based agency went on to pass a blatantly anti-Israel resolution submitted by Syria. 14 Western nations objected to the bill, which criticized health conditions in areas the text referred to as occupied by Israel, including the Golan and East Jerusalem. Israel's ambassador to the UN in Geneva tweeted frustration over the World Health Organization's refusal to stand up to Syria's brutal regime. The UN Watch director Hillel Noor says the world body discredits itself by condemning healthcare in areas under Israeli jurisdiction, which is very good. Furthermore, he points out that the Jewish state is working to save the lives of Syrians fleeing barbaric attacks launched by their own leader, President Bashar al-Assad. He's adding that it's the height of cynicism for Syria to introduce a resolution condemning Israel while the Damascus regime bombs their own people, hospitals, ambulances, and medical workers. You might have been one of those lucky enough to see an amazing streak across the Israeli skies yesterday. And no, it wasn't a bird, a plane, nor even Superman, and thankfully, not an incoming terrorist missile. It was the successful trial of Israel's brand new rocket propulsion system. It's actually not even all that uncommon to see such tests going on given the Jewish state's vast multi-layered aerial defense system. All kinds of tests are used to make sure the Iron Dome, Arrow, and David Sling missile interceptors are in tip-top shape. Eyewitnesses say they saw the projectile soar across the clouds right above the heart of the country. The Defense Ministry is holding back on telling us just what was being tested, although military experts are saying that it was probably a Jericho 3 intercontinental surface-to-surface ballistic missile. The Army has been working to upgrade the Jericho in terms of accuracy and range, and it's now believed to be capable of reaching targets more than 6,200 miles away. Foreign reports even estimate that Jericho is able to carry nuclear payloads. Other enthusiasts are guessing that the test might have been done on the Arrow system we all call Star Wars, since it's designed to intercept ballistic missiles outside of the Earth's atmosphere. You might be used to snaking through the crowded streets of the Old City to get to the Western Wall, but it sounds like tourists and pilgrims will soon be traveling to the Kotel in style, now that a cable car is about to be built from West Jerusalem to the Dung Gate. That's right, the Israeli government has approved a plan to construct a cable car for the Israeli capital. The joint project between the Tourism Ministry and the Jerusalem Development Authority will cost around $56 million and will be operational in 2021. That's, of course, if it stays on schedule. Around 130,000 people come to the Western Wall every week, and right now that means schlepping up and down the crowded steps and alleys of the Old City. In the future, you'll be able to board the cable car at the First Station Mall in Jerusalem and be just outside of the Western Wall Plaza in under 4 minutes. The project is not without controversy, though. A French utility firm refused to take part in the project because the route will pass over parts of Jerusalem that the international community does not recognize as Israeli. Art is often a reflection of the society that we live in, and joining us today to discuss a new exhibition on contemporary Israeli culture is the artist Hagit Ben Ami. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's begin. Tell us a little bit about your new exhibition.
The new exhibition is an exhibition of me and of Harold Rubin, who is a fantastic, amazing artist here in Israel.
Now, what kind of artwork are we going to be seeing in this exhibition?
He is a painter, and I'm more sculpture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he was my teacher for quite many years, and we're very, very, very good friends. and I decided to make an exhibition together.
Interesting. Now I'm looking at some of the artwork that we have on the screen
This
behind
is
us. You can see it over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is Harold. He's
from Richard III.
Beautiful.
This is,
so
from the play.
so he's an artist and you're a sculptor. A sculptor. There we go. Yes, I lost the word there.
Yeah.
And
this is, for example, a new work of mine which combines. This is ceramic. This is clay.
It combines painting and sculpting
painting in
as well.
a drawer and clay. The one before. Yeah.
So what are some of the inspirations of this exhibition?
Well, I'm mainly inspired, I think from drama, from nature, from things that connect me to I don't know, to the world of the theater, from which I've come, because I'm an actress basically for many years, theater actress.
Wow. And I mean, you know, one of the things that stood out to us about this exhibition is kind of its connection to contemporary Israeli culture and society. I mean, what aspects of Israeli society stand out to you the most when it comes to making the artwork that you're making here?
I don't know. I can hardly tell you in which way this is contemporary or not. Harold is 85 years old.
Wow.
And he is very contemporary. I think so.
Right.
Many people think so. And you know, I don't want to start. This is from the gallery that we have. Me and my partner, we have it together. And I don't want to start with very high words like contemporary art in Israel is so and so and so. Curators do it for me. I think that art is, if people come and feel something and want to stay more and want to buy or to come again and feel that they are connected to what they see, and it doesn't matter if it's figurative or abstract or whatever, if they feel connected, if it arouses some emotions in them, I think this is art. I mean,
no, absolutely. Well, I think that, you know, a lot of people, they think about artwork in Israel and they assume that it's going to be inherently political or have some kind of connection to the conflict that we're seeing on the ground here. But, you know, do you think it's possible to kind of separate politics and art here in Israel?
Not separate. I mean, you cannot separate your life from your art, and politics and wars are part of our life here. So I don't think it's possible to separate. You can express it in many different ways. Like I have a work which is a big deer that I sculptured and framed, and it has a hole in his forehead.
Right. So
you can take it to wherever you want. It's an innocent animal that is shot here, very beautiful, very pretty, very aesthetic, but with a hole of a gun here.
Right.
I mean, you cannot separate it because artists take their materials from their lives. If they don't, it shows. Right. They have to take from their lives. Right. And their lives, part of their lives is the surrounding, is the society. So it all comes into the art.
So what do you know, for those of our viewers who are going to be able to make it to this gallery opening, what are some of the pieces of art that stand out to you the most here that you would want them to see?
I want them to see we call our gallery, the gallery calls Ben-Ami Gallery.
Ben-Ami.
Yeah. But we call it a connecting gallery because we try to really connect between art and people and cultures and art and different kinds of art, different areas in Israel. Like we have all kinds of artists coming, not only from the center, and we try to make connections. Special connections.
So you can really kind of get a sense of the artwork, not only from Tel Aviv, but from other parts of the country, which is...
Yeah, many times.
Yeah, because people forget that, you know, this is not just Tel Aviv. This country is more than just Tel Aviv, right?
So we try to really make connections of all kinds.
Of course.
And this is an example for a connection, between a very, very good artist. He's also a jazz player, free jazz, Harold Rubin. And
you're acting
his works and his age, and between, well, I'm not 20, I'm not such a young chicken either, but you know, it's...
Well, I mean, listen, I'm looking at the paintings, the artwork here, the sculptures. It looks beautiful, and I'm excited to check this out myself. So thank you so much for coming in, and hopefully our viewers will be able to check out your gallery.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, the first ever single malt whiskey has been bottled here in Israel, and while its 3 years of aging might not put it in the territory of Highland single malt, it's still a historic moment for the country. Israel's Milk and Honey Distillery is behind the novelty venture. Their whiskey has been aged for 31 months in an American oak cask and for another 7 months in a bourbon cask. Reportedly, the temperate Israeli climate has accelerated the aging process, and legendary master distiller Jim Swan helped distill the mash. Those who want a taste will be able to buy the whiskey in Israel in June. International audiences, on the other hand, will have to wait until July, and even then they'll have to purchase it through an online auction. But who can even put a price on Israeli whiskey? We don't have the Smoky Pete of Scotland, but I think we can find a way around that. All right, exciting news. All right, here's one for all of you history fans. It looks like the large ancient pools that can be found around Jerusalem actually had a unique function, and American-Israeli researchers have just discovered it. A joint research study between Harvard University and the University of Haifa has found evidence that the ancient pools were used to serve the huge number of pilgrims who came to the city in the Second Temple period. At that time, Jerusalem had a population of around 30,000, but during major festivals, as many as 1 million pilgrims filled the crowded streets. And in order to enter the temple complex, they needed to immerse themselves in pools of water to attain ritual purity. Researchers have concluded that the huge number of pools is unprecedented in Mediterranean cities. The Christian ritual of baptism, inspired by John the Baptist, takes inspiration from the Jewish practice of ritual immersion. These days, a tech worker's cell phone is just as important as their laptop. After all, that's where a lot of action goes down. But unlike company computers, cell phones are extremely susceptible to being hacked, data theft, and even being lost on the bus. So now an Israeli company called Nubo has found a way to solve these problems. And I'm here with Tzvi Lahat, the company's VP of Business Development. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So let's talk a little bit about the platform that you've created. What is this platform?
Okay, we came to the world to answer the problem of the bring your own device. People like to work from their own private device. The employer likes it very much because you continue to work when you are in vacation, when you are at home, and the productivity is going up.
Right, right.
But it creates the problem that you described right now. Phone are stolen. You leave the company with all the data.
Yeah.
Data belong to the company, and also the phone is a very easy way to penetrate the data center of the company. So we came to the world to answer this question, and the answer is virtual mobile infrastructure. It means, in simple words, we are virtualizing the business part of the phone, and we bring it to the data center. So what we do, we build a virtual mobile infrastructure, virtual mobile operating system in the data center of the company. The company can put its applications, its data on that platform. It's safe, it's within the company. It could be on cloud. Cloud is as safe as data on premises. And what we did is from the phone, we just get access to the data with a special protocol that we developed. So what you have here is a phone. It is your private phone. And when you enter the Nubo application, you are entering through a protected protocol.
So it's essentially not on your actual phone, but it's a program that you have to then sign into on your phone that allows you to access all this data. So that's interesting. So what kinds of businesses could use this platform? Or could government agencies as well benefit from this?
We were very lucky to be adopted as a startup by the government of Israel to the biggest program, a mobility program
Wow.
of the Israeli Defense
Well,
Forces.
and I think Israel needs this more than anybody else, right? Because there's a, you know, when it comes to...
And we already implemented this solution, and we are very well established in Beza company, which is, you know, the main telecom company.
Of course.
The main need is any company that care about its data and wants the people to work from the mobile phone, which is, all of us are doing that, care about...
Well, I mean, nowadays you just can't avoid that. This is how everybody functions, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because, you know, today, for example, I was trying to reach somebody on the phone, and they had left their phone at home, but they didn't have any other form of communication to reach me by. So, you know, it makes you understand the importance of having that cell phone with you. There are no more landlines anymore, right? So, now what happens if an employee or of a company that uses your product ends up losing that phone? It's going to be fine, right? Because
it is very simple, because all the data is not resides on the
right,
phone.
it's
Nothing is on the
system.
phone. When you are not using the application, there is nothing. And also when you use the application, there is nothing. We send from the data center just an image. You cannot see more than one picture. So we send it to you.
This
and
is
that's
a
what
big
you see.
deal. Now here's my question for you. How did you come up with the idea for this? Was there a specific inspiration behind the idea for this platform?
This is not my idea. It's the inventor, Israel Lifshitz.
Okay.
He's the inventor, the creator. It took about 5 years to develop the technology.
Wow. I mean, there's certainly a need for this type of software in our lives. And I'm interested to see kind of how it's going to affect the future of the way that we share information. So thank you so much for coming in, and congratulations on this big platform.
Thank you.
A NASA spacecraft is sending us some startling new information about planet Jupiter, and an Israeli scientist is one of the key figures on the team that's trying to figure out what it all means. The Juno aircraft arrived in orbit around Jupiter in 2016, just 5 years after it took off from Cape Canaveral. Since then, it's been probing the atmosphere of the gas giant, and the data it's sending back is upending everything we thought we knew. Israeli scientist Yochai Caspi is on the Juno science team, and he's blown away by what they're finding. For example, he says Jupiter has a much stronger magnetic field than scientists had thought. It's around 10 times as strong as the most powerful magnetic field on Earth. And the rapid rotation of Jupiter's gases give it an abnormal gravity field. Caspi was actually the scientist who developed the tools we're using to understand Juno's measurements of Jupiter's gravity. Our local rocket scientist got his undergrad degree at Hebrew University in Jerusalem and his PhD at MIT. And get this, the Israeli Ministry of Science is sponsoring his research, and clearly it's paying off.
The Hebrew Word of the Day is brought to you by IDC Summer Ulpan, open to everyone.
And now for our Hebrew word of the day. You should stand up for what you stand on, so today's word is kochav lechet, which means planet in Hebrew. Kochav means star, and lechet means spinning, so a planet is essentially a spinning star. The thing is, stars and planets are actually two different things, but back in biblical times when the Hebrew language developed, they were both thought to be the same. Now, it's difficult to understand the universe if you only study one kochav lechet, so we thought we would teach you the names of some of the planets in Hebrew. For over 1,000 years, when Hebrew speakers looked at the sky, they saw 5 planets. Chama, which is Mercury, Noga, which is Venus, Madim, known as Mars, Tzedek, known as Jupiter, and Shabtai, which is Saturn. Now, here's what's cool. The planets Uranus and Neptune were not known in ancient times because they were further away. So they were never given Hebrew names, and that's why back in 2009, the Hebrew Language Academy in Israel invited the public to choose names for them. So today Uranus is now known as Oron in Hebrew, and Neptune is called Rachav. Now every kochav lechet has a name. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. Tonight should be clear to partly cloudy with a low of 68 or 20 degrees Celsius. And tomorrow is expected to be fair with a drop in temperatures and a high of 85 or 29 degrees Celsius. All right, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.58 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at iltv.tv. I'm Natasha Kirchuk, and thanks for watching.